name is Shuang. Thanks for coming. I have a quick question. Have you thought about your future?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure everybody had thought about it, right? That's the question that we were given even when we were a small kid. When I was little, I was told that you want to become a medical doctor because my mom was a doctor. But that was not my future, at least not currently who I am. I have thought a lot about my future, but I never really imagined I could have traversed a lot of academic, geographic, cultural, and linguistic boundaries that my journey so far had brought me through. And today I want to share with you the 5 values that led me to my journey so far, because it really had broadened my horizons and broadened my future. The first value I would like to share is curiosity. I was born and raised in a small town in northeast China. It's a city that I'm pretty sure nobody has heard of in this room. It's called Diligence. It's a very little town that has no popular presence, at least in English discourse. And I'm just like a regular kid in China, brought up by Chinese parents without going to international schools. My journey throughout the world started from the curiosities, because from reading books, I started learning about the outside world, outside my little town called Qing. I learned about Beijing, I learned about Guangzhou. Then gradually, as I started to learn ABCDE, I also learned about the United States or Great Britain. I learned some of these places that I've never heard of. Curiosity, I believe, is the beginning of any traverse journey, because only through curiosity we became self-motivated. Self-motivated meaning not being told by your parents and your peers. Even if when I was little, I was told that I wanted, you must become a medical doctor, because my mom is a medical doctor. She believed that she could pass on to me a lot of experiences that could be valuable and could even be a shortcut for my journey throughout life. But that's not my self-motivation. I grew up in a medical hospital because my mom was always on night shift duty. There was nothing too curious to me because I'm used to that environment. But curiosity about, for example, Beijing or about English-speaking world are things that are unfamiliar to me that I want to explore on my own. So from the high school English textbooks, I learned about reading Helen Keller, the person who cited at the beginning of this conference, and also about other things that I've never heard of, such as Shakespeare's or Jane Austen. So that's the beginning of my traverse journey of becoming curious about the world that I'm not familiar with. Of course, you might say, to the unfamiliar world, we might become a little bit scared or threatened, or because it's unfamiliar. But with curiosity, if you find the things that without being told by your parents or your peer to do, and you become self-motivated to look for the answers about your questions, then that's the particular thing that you become very self-driven, and that will get you going through the journeys. The second value I had is diligence. So I studied hard, I don't know, for whatever reason, without doing too many prep exams. The English subject for my high school become very easy for me, even if at the time I had little experience of speaking to native speakers. So I was enrolled in an undergraduate college in English language and literature. That's where I find that so many more people are much better than I was because of lack of undergraduate teaching resources. A lot of the pronunciations I was taught in the high school was wrong. So I had to self-correct or correct with the native speakers in college when I started to major in English language and literature. So diligence really became very important. Curiosity is the first step, but without hard work or without unlearning some of the wrong pronunciation habits, my English could barely be understood by people of native English speakers. So I worked really hard to study, to practice, and even use my spare time to work as a free volunteer tour guide in Beijing, at the Summer Palace or other tourist sites to practice my English. Because back then, there was no NYU Shanghai, right? Back in my generation, being able to speak English to a native speaker still needs the efforts to go out your campus to really practice with native speakers. So I worked really hard, and I was a little bit nerdy. But that's also driven by my curiosity, wanted to learn more about the English world. The next value I would like to share is open-mindedness. Because when I was equipped with the English language skill as well as the Chinese language skill, I thought my first job would be being a translator or an interpreter. That's a natural career choice. I was sending out CVs when I was graduating and sending out CVs to a lot of translation companies, big state-owned enterprises, and even to Chinese civil service exam. Nobody answered my call. It was quite frustrating at the time. But one day, in 2003, I received a phone call from a TV station, Phoenix Satellite Television in Hong Kong, which some of you probably know is the first 24-hour news channel in China, broadcasting in Mandarin Chinese. Yes, I sent a CV, but without expecting of getting a job in the news channel at all. They say they desperately needed an interpreter for news live broadcast because in 2003, you probably know, the war in Iraq took place. And that was around the same time I was looking for jobs. I was never expecting that I'm going to get a job in a TV station. And at the time, there was also a global pandemic, which was SARS about 20 years ago from now. My parents were saying, that's not really tailored to your training as an English language major as well as English Chinese simultaneous interpreter. My friends was also saying, it's a unfamiliar place because back then the connections between Hong Kong and China is still not as strong as today. Why would you want to get a job there? Do you think you can get good opportunities or being appreciated as an interpreter for a TV station? But I thought, why not? So my core value is being open-minded is that even if you have a clear goal of what you want to do, still just be open-minded because you never know what other boundaries you might be traversing. So because of the desperate need of the television and also because of the desperate need of me needing a job, I became the very first simultaneous interpreter for live news broadcast. And I translated for news related to the Islamic Middle East, as well as had the chance of going into the field to report events such as the Israeli and Hezbollah war in 2006. That gradually comes to my next value. When I was 27, I thought, okay, this probably is my journey in life. I could easily settle down in Hong Kong. I earn a good living. I have a job that is well respected. But concentrating on events related to the Middle East, I myself have very little training in Arab Islamic Middle East. As most of the Chinese, we knew very little about that region, as if it's a mysterious region that has all the dangers and mythologies in the world. So I thought maybe I should go to study the Arabic language as well as the history and all the other cultures related to the modern Middle East. So at the age of 27, I quit my job in Hong Kong and enrolled in American University in Cairo, which is a similar institution like NYU Shanghai, but it was established about 100 years ago. That comes to the next journey, next value as persistency, because it was a hard transition. For many, many times, I doubted my choice. What went wrong with you, Shuang? Why did you quit a job in Hong Kong to go to Cairo to study? My parents thought I did a terrible job and was fired by the company in Hong Kong. My friends thought I had, read something weird online and started to believe in the cult of Islam, etc., etc. All thoughts of questions started to pop up. And sometimes I also doubted myself. But then I asked myself, is that the place that I'm very curious with? Is that the place that I wanted to study more with my diligence and want to contribute more to the Chinese knowledge on the Middle East and Islamic world? Am I open-minded enough to be able to continue this journey? So that's why with persistency, I went through many of the academic all-nighters that you pull up through when you are in college. I finished some of the papers and then eventually get the degree. From then, I become an academic professor in Middle East and Arabic studies, and now I'm teaching at NYU Shanghai, one of my dream jobs, because I can finally come back to China to contribute to the knowledge to Chinese people as well as international students about a region that is very important. And that comes to my last value, that is, throughout the journey, we need to be healthy and happy. Even if through times we might encounter difficulties, even if during times we may doubt ourselves, as long as you try to keep yourself healthy and happy, spiritually and mentally as well as physically, you have no limit of traverse through all kinds of boundaries. It is these 5 values that guided my unexpected journey that ended up here. I hope this sharing is useful to you in some way in designing your future. Thank you.